I think that the period of Bitcoin's life where the majority of the community is aligned, I think that sort of ebbs and flows over time, right? There's like a coherent narrative for the mass of people, and then there's a shakeup, let's say the block size war, and then we have this like hardening effect where everyone's marching to the beat of the same drum, good or bad. That just sort of happens. And I would say now we're starting to fracture again. And I think that this is a natural process. I think this is a totally reasonable, expected process. It does not worry me. And the reason why it doesn't worry me is because if Bitcoin can't handle some infighting, it can't handle some narrative battles or fracturing of communities, then this thing was never going to make it long term anyways. Right. So I actually am totally comfortable with the amount of tension we have in the market right now. I would also say that Bitcoin Twitter feels like this big war fight over the protocol, but that has almost no that does not represent Bitcoin as a whole. And I'll use Swan as an example here. Over the last several years, right, Swan's been around for over 4 years now. We've done some things that people like. We've done some things that people don't like in the community. And so I've seen firsthand how the horde on Bitcoin Twitter can change its opinion about you or attack you one day, love you the next, or whatever. What's interesting is whether Bitcoin Twitter loves Swan or Bitcoin Twitter hates Swan. Obviously, neither are true. It's in the middle. But no matter what's going on in Bitcoin Twitter, it is not correlated to our business in any capacity. So we'll have we deal with it in terms of, okay, we're having to deal with a bunch of PR stuff on Twitter today. So it wastes our time. But you go look at the numbers, the client onboarding, customer sentiment, that stuff doesn't move at all based on Bitcoin Twitter. So I think it's healthy for all of us to zoom out. Bitcoin Twitter is not Bitcoin. In terms of back to where we are today, I think that we're going to start to figure out what this Bitcoin thing is. And I think over time, every single, let's say, cultural battle that we have, it helps us understand more about what Bitcoin actually is. If you think about in the beginning, people thought Bitcoin competed with Visa. Fast, cheap payments. That was an enormous narrative. And then it led with a fork, or ended up with a fork. That's one idea. The other idea said, let's scale in layers, blah, blah, blah. And so I think we're going to do the same thing now. I hope we don't end up with a fork. If we do, okay, fine. The minority fork will be worth nothing in 5 years. I think we learned that lesson. I expect the same thing to occur. Now, when we look at the government coming down on Bitcoin, I think the best phrase is that we're at the end of the beginning. So the first phase is over. Honeymoon is over. We are now firmly on the radar of all power structures in the world. And now it's going to be an interesting thing where we're going to find out who actually has the cojones to try and fight this thing, who's going to try and subvert it, who's going to lean into it. I think we're going to have a plurality of responses from governments. I think what the Biden administration is showing, whoever's driving that ship, they're very hostile right now, but they're not hostile to Bitcoin ownership. They're not hostile really to number go up. They're hostile to privacy, self-custody, things like that. And I think that's to be expected. I think that's where the battle lines are in this next phase. Like you can't put Bitcoin away. It's not going away. All they can do now is try to tax it and spy on it and maintain some amount of control. And I think it's on Bitcoiners' shoulders to enter that fight bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and know that they're going to try to neuter this thing. And the next question is, if Bitcoin is totally neutered from a self-custody, privacy standpoint, what does that leave us with? Is that the hill to die on? And I'm not actually sure what the answer to that question is. Everyone can make up their own answer to that. But I think we're entering that phase now, and Bitcoin needs to be able to handle this type of attack. And it's on us to build the tools that prevent it from being captured. I think all other crypto projects, they're dead on arrival. They don't have the capacity to survive a state level attack. And so they're just inevitably going to be captured if they get big enough. But I think Bitcoin is the one that we do have a legitimate chance to get this thing through and make it too big to fail.
Why am I doing this? Like why are you doing this? Like we could just go back and sit around and just go into the shadows and do nothing. Like, why are we out here being activists in a way and promoting this? And it seems fruitless at times. I don't know. So, where do you stand on this?
If you want the answer to that question right there and you like that spicy clip, check it out here. Come on. We'll see you in there. But if you want the full interview in its entirety, all the spicy clips put together, and you're not going to want to miss it, believe me, then check that out here. Come on. We'll see you in there. Do it.